The Bottom Drawer by Jane Botel of West Gosford 2250, narrated by Janine Penfold. The old farmhouse stood abandoned for many years, shedding its story plank by plank and nail by nail. Honed concrete piers, slowly sinking at one corner, gave the illusion of a stooped, grey-haired man, age settling into creaking old bones. No roof remained except for a tiny room off to the side, its rusted, corrugated iron sending rays of sunlight through nail holes that hit upon a dusty wooden floor. At night, the moonlight slipped in through the holes to bathe the nighttime dwellers in a magical twinkling glow. The house perched high on the side of a riverbank, and when the wind blew crossways, the haunting song of the swaying she-oaks conjured up long-forgotten stories just waiting to be told. As a young child growing up, I watched this house from across paddocks of rolling ryegrass, rows of nodding corn, cows grazing, rabbits running, sheep birthing, and foxes shrilling at dusk. The changing seasons brought with them contrasting views of the old farmhouse, and my imagination was fed with abundance. The winter view was the most hypnotic. The frosty paddocks and mist rolling in off the river created a dampness of night that settled like a shroud around the old house as the hoot of waking owls could be faintly heard in the distance. This image invaded many dreams as I drifted off to my wintry sleep, cosy and warm in my bed. The summer thunderstorms that struck at dusk lit up the house, giving off ghostly silhouettes of demon-like creatures. The springtime brought forth the promise of warmer days with the song of wrens, flitting around on matchstick legs, quickly gathering small insects for their newly hatched babes. Autumn felt sadder as trees shredded leaves that fell, blew and swirled about on icy cold winds. The stories this house conjured up in my young mind had me writing many stories about the house and the people that may have lived there long ago. Stories that would find me lost in make-believe and all kinds of imaginings. I would imagine the house in its glory days, with rose bushes and lavender hedges, nodding violets and springtime bulbs, rows of fresh vegetables and herbs in a fenced-off vegetable garden, citrus trees and apples aplenty, children swinging from trees, dogs barking and chasing rabbits, fresh eggs from scratching chickens, the smell of home-baked bread and warming winter fires, summer days of river swims with cicadas shrilling their deafening song. I wrote so many stories and decorated the pages with flowers and birds, trees and gardens, rain and sunshine, or just doodles that mimicked trailing vines. With the onset of my teenage years came more schoolwork and less time to get lost in make-believe and stories. I felt like I was losing my childhood. My body was changing along with my mind. I felt this loss, whilst at the same time felt myself emerging, blossoming, and becoming a different version of my child self. I would write again, I promised myself, but a bit later, when I knew more and felt more. The world was opening up to me, and I wanted to embrace it. Carefully, and with some sadness, I gathered my stories and tied them up gently with a beautiful yellow ribbon. I placed them all in a shoebox, along with spare paper, a pencil and sharpener. Another piece of yellow ribbon was tied to secure the box, and very gently I placed it in the bottom drawer of my cupboard. My life moved on, and with school and childhood behind me, I embarked on many adventures. I travelled my country, learning new skills, working many and varied jobs, married, had children, loved and lived life, felt sorrows and hurt, laughed and cried. Still the days moved on, until I found myself caring for a lovely old lady who lived in a small care home. I had taken a job as an assistant in nursing to help fill my days. I remember clearly the day we met. It was a grey, cold day. A light drizzle fell for most of it, and the clouds hung heavy with the promise of more rain to come. I was shown to her room, and as I entered, our eyes met, and we connected instantly. It was very special, and in that moment, the glint of a rainbow appeared through the window and rested gently upon her covered knees. She sat in an old rocking chair, a cup of tea at her side, and the look of someone at peace with herself and her world. I was transfixed. We were introduced. Her name was Patty, and she was a beautiful, white-haired lady with delicate features and a smile that illuminated the room. We talked for a while about our lives, and she reminisced about her childhood on a farm. She was delighted when I told her about my own growing up on a farm, and as I busied myself dusting her room and generally cleaning and tidying, we fell into easy chatter that warmed me and lingered in my mind and heart long after my shift had ended. Over the next few months, I would sit and read short stories to Patty. This gradually reminded me of my own short stories from so long ago, of what made me. Could I revisit them? Should I revisit them? The shoebox, with its now old, worn and tattered edges, faded yellow ribbon, still resided in a bottom drawer, just waiting to be opened. So, on a cold winter's evening with a warm fire aglow, and remembering my promise of long past, I opened that shoebox, and like a held breath, the memories of my childhood stories floated up to me. With older, gentler fingers, I untied the bow and nestled down in my comfy chair to relive my memories from the bottom drawer. The end.